This logo took me about 3 weeks to create, and it was never used by the clients because they pivoted to another direction. But the thinking and process behind this mark is something I'm really proud of, and it's one of the clearest examples of how I think, which is why I want to walk you through the process today. This is like all the mess that happens before you open Photoshop, Illustrator, Affinity, whatever software you use to design. So we are going to go from the blank page to the brief breakdown to word mapping or mind mapping, as other people might call it, and keyword decision, to breaking down all the specifics that help me arrive at this decision, this logo. If you're a designer that wants like an inside scoop on how I do things, and now, like I said, this is not like a how-to tutorial, how to move shape, how to create award-winning iconic logo marks in Illustrator. This is like the behind the process. Before we get to that point, this is like the la creme, what do they call it, in making a good logo. So just stick with me if you are in for that. Let's jump right to the video. So first thing first is the brief. No project starts without a brief. Whether the brief is structured, semi-structured, or no structure at all, there is always an ask. And the ask for this brand, Chikapucha Mama, a church-based NGO, was to create a full brand identity system that encapsulates their guiding principle. Chikapucha Mama is a Swahili word for a mother's basket. Like, the meaning is a mother's basket. To represent like the physical and spiritual provisions that the NGO wants to like provide to its target audience, and its target audience are youths and nursing mothers, primarily youths and nursing mothers, then families. So the client's reference was the Tannis Bakery, so they loved the colors, and we decided to like take a youthful, playful yet grounded direction for this brand. So that's just the brief in like few sentences. Now, it is important to note that this brief stage has already accounted for like the mood board and concept approval stage. So I'm going to move on to the next level, which is like the word mapping stage or phase. This word mapping phase is like a very crucial part for me in terms of creating a logo, then building on it as for a brand identity, visual identity for a brand. I must go through this process before jumping into Illustrator, before even opening Behance, Pinterest for inspiration. This is what I go through. This stage is like very, very important. The first thing I do in word mapping is to write the name of the brand on the center of a blank page. You can use any page you want. I typically just use this. I have like books that I use for sketching and all, but I go in with mostly with this kind of line book. Just do it. As you can see, I've written it here, Chikapucha Mama. So when I write the name in the center of the page, I kind of just circle it out. Then from there, I just start writing like every word that can be associated with the brand, like feelings, image, just stuff that is just associated with like the brand value. In this case, for Chikapucha Mama, like I said earlier, that they are an NGO, church-based NGO, like a non-government organization. There's a charity organization. So what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear church? I wrote Jesus. There's church there. From church, I wrote compassionate, support, mother. There's a lot of things. Like there's a lot of words. So after writing like the main Chikapucha Mama, I take like few words and still break them down. But at this stage, I'm not overthinking any words. I'm just letting things flow. So how does this word come about? The first thing first, I take keywords that are like recurring from maybe the call I had with the client or with the brief. If the brief kept up saying we want people to feel loved, we want people to feel happy, they keep mentioning, so there's like a constant theme. That's the first thing I write down. So you might be thinking, where do I start from? Okay, I have a brand that wants to, let's say I have a food brand. What's the first thing about the food? Should I write food? What kind of food? Is the food vegan? Is it like is it halal? So you just from there, you just start like thinking, like words just start flowing. This is no judgment. You just, anything that comes to your head, you write it down, which is what I do. It's just like you are building vocabulary for the brand. And if you had done your due diligence in like the strategy session, it will be more easier for you because you have like, gone through like the brand values, the brand now. So those things also make it easier for you. Use word. I start with words that, that evoke feelings in people. Like, okay, how does this brand want people to feel? Is he like, don't want them to feel uplifted? Don't want them to feel strong? I start with feelings. Then with feelings, I go into things that can represent that feelings. Like when it comes to upliftment, what is upliftment? What can I use to represent upliftment? What can I use? What shape? What texture signals community? What texture? What shape? When you think of momentum, what comes to your head when you think of momentum? So that is just what I do when it comes to word mapping. After doing the word mapping session, it comes like the concept generation. Like that's the key concept. What am I taking away from my word mapping session? I typically decide on a minimum of 3 words, 3 keywords minimum. You can go as much as you want, maybe 5, but you want to keep it like between 3 to 5 so that you don't overcrowd yourself with ideas and you don't stretch yourself too much. You might stretch yourself too much depending on the projects, what you want to deliver, the budget, so many things, but just start at the base. Let's keep it simple. When you overcomplicate things, your process gets more overcomplicated. You can start with 3 and build those 3 ideas, 3 keywords. There's a lot of ideas you can generate from it. And if you are working on it and see that it doesn't work out, you can always switch and take another keyword from the word mapping session that you've had. The word mapping, I don't know why I keep calling it session. Is it a session? You can go back to it and take another keyword to build upon to get your concept. The 3 words I chose to focus on for this brand was Jesus, community, and growth. Now, these 3 keywords, they have their own sub-meaning, like love, provision, and so on and so forth. After taking these 3 words, I now ask myself, for each of these keywords I've chosen, what do they look like? I try and visualize it. Like, so now we talk about the feelings. So what can I use to represent this feeling? What do they look like? So I have chosen Jesus, I have chosen community, and I've chosen growth. When I think of Jesus, what comes to my mind? When you think of Jesus, what comes to your mind? You think of cross, you think of shining light, you think of tranquility, that's peace. There's aloe, there's church, there's love, there's a lot of things. This is the note. You can see so after having my Chikapucha Mama, I also broke down Christ and faith together. Though I stood on just Christ. So on Christ, there are words that were coming, there were cross, there were peace, there were rising sun, there's tranquility. What did I use to describe tranquility? Something that is flowy. What is Christ? And I put art, light. Aloe is the same thing as like, aloe, like when you see like Jesus, there was always a bright shining light over Jesus. So same thing for community. What does community look like? If as a designer, how do I want to represent community in terms of shape? So I'm thinking a circle, something enclosed, something that is transparent in the middle. It's not like, so if we have like a circle, the circle is not a filled circle, it's a stroked circle. So also signals like transparency. What about growth? When I think of growth, what comes to my head? I think of sprout, movement, something that is like plant growing. Like when you think of just growth, you think of green. You think of something that is moving, like it's growing from 0 to 100. That's growth. If you went from -10 to 100% profit, that's growth. An upward movement. These were my keywords. This is how like a logo starts becoming like a decision rather than you just guessing and taking inspiration from one Pinterest post, this Behance post, joining together. And you have to be intentional when you're creating a brand identity or a visual identity. So this is just how you lay the groundwork, and it also helps you when you are presenting it to the clients, because you can explain the rationale behind your decision. They are not just, this thing is not decorative. There's a reason behind this cross we have here. There's a reason behind this little dot. You think that it's not an afterthought. It was actually in the process. So this is the breakdown of the logo, and this is what we have. So I explained the arc. So we have the first thing, which is the arc. I said the arc signifies a bunch of things which are literal and metaphorical: a dwelling place, a shield, house of God, and community. In a broad sense, it's a place where people come together for a common cause, and it's also a safe space. I said something about community being my keyword, and community, I said one of the things that shapes I could use to like describe community, like circle, growth. I'm like, okay, for this brand, why circle? I don't want to do the generic circle. How can I make it something else? And I decided to make it, I don't know what this is called, but it's an arc. I decided to make it like transparent, obviously. And also while I was designing, I was like, just like, putting things together. When I was presenting, I was like, come to think of it, this arc looks like a window of the church, like an entrance of the church. It looks like an opening. And one thing they wanted the brand to do is for people to come, not be judged, just come inside. Because like I said, it's a church-based charity. So they are starting from the church. Obviously, they will go to their what's it called, to everywhere, nationwide. And at the core, even they're going nationwide, the base is also like evangelism, to bring people to church. So I'm like, okay, this is also a good one. Then the next thing was the basket. So I said the basket was gotten from a literal meaning of Chikapu Mama, which is a mother's basket. The basket is synonymous to care and provision. So this basket, I had different iteration, because initially I was thinking, oh, one of the ideas I went through, I was like, okay, I had my keywords already. I had these 3 keywords which I chose, but I had another set of keywords to like go into another more African direction of making like a mama mascot. So there's gonna be a woman carrying a basket on her head, because it was part of like the mood board and stuff that we decided to combine together just to give like another option. Why I thought about it, like it can be a lot, and again, it can, I don't know, the Christian community might not take it. They might not look at it creativity. They might look at wow, what is this one on our logo? Who is this woman? Who is this? So I decided, not like, you know what, instead of me to like make this like a standalone concept, why not add it into this? Let me incorporate the basket into the Jesus growth, and I've forgotten the third one. So it comes under provision, because they want to provide, they want to give like things to young mothers, provisions, and also provide spiritual guidance to them. So that's where it comes in. Inside the basket, I highlighted like just abstract food shape, abstract shape, which signals like, what's it called? Provisions. I said a mother will always strive for food to be in her basket when coming from the market. This is the significance of the solid food item in the basket. The food is both physical, that's bread, and spiritual, that's the bread of life, which is Jesus, a core principle of how the organization waters its audience. After that, it was the plant sprout. I said the plant sprout signifies a new beginning and fulfillment. The idea was incorporated following the organization mission and vision, helping people to live with dignity and rise above whatever current situation they might be in. Then to top it up was the art shape. As I'm explaining this thing, the basis, as you can see, that everything is like Christ, church, provision, tending towards the keyword. I'm like, okay, I don't want to like let there not be cross in this thing. What else can I use to make sure that Jesus is more pronounced? Because I mean, church people like church things. How can I make it more pronounced? That will also signify like the church thing. And when someone else look at it, they won't look at it that, oh, this is only for church. Like when people from other religion look at it, they won't just look at, oh, this charity is just for church, and I don't want to be associated with it. Something that is just like neutral. I went with love. So I said love. The heart shape on the cherry is the cherry on top of the cake. It represents Jesus' existence is the core of the organization. It communicates love, compassion, condemning, non-condemning, and peace, because that's what they want to achieve again with the organizations. So this is just the breakdown of the logo mark that I created, and I also like chose something simple for the typography, something that they could, you know, they don't have to pay for license, like open source font, which I went for, which was popping. Like I said, the client didn't choose the logo, but this is a logo mark that I was very, very super happy with and proud of. And I want to show you that I don't just want to show you the logo. I want to show you the logic behind the logo, the process behind the logo. The process of logo design is just to show the importance of asking questions, asking the right questions, knowing where things could possibly go wrong, because you have to be really clear what the client is thinking of, what you think the client is thinking of, what the client say might not be what they actually want or what they actually envision. So the process is just like deep. It's deeper than like your initial brief. You have to like go deeper, so that just to avoid guesswork. And logo doesn't just start in the software. It is made in conversations and series of feedback. So I'm just happy with this logo. That's why I just want to show it to you guys. If you're wondering what the client went for, they went for something more, they went for like a decorative, not decorative word mark, but basically they really like the font Poppins, which I chose for the brand typography to be used. And they wanted Poppins to be used for the like logo mark, like the logo itself to be Poppins. And I'm like, you know what, cool. And I was like, why do you like Poppins so much? And the explanation, even I learned something else, that, you know what, I could use this to sell Poppins to another client. So like, oh, Poppins just looked elegant, calm, the edges. I'm like, you know what, makes sense. If you like the video, I want to see more breakdown or case studies or something else, anything you want me to discuss upon, please share it in the comment section, and I'll be sure to make a video of it. I'll see you in my next one. Hopefully it's gonna be soon. Bye.